Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video, and it is tier list time. There were more changes. There are new talent builds and strategies that are popping up that I have experienced both firsthand and offhand, as well as observed from streamers. So I wanted to update my tier list here and give you my rundown for how good your specialization is looking so far on the Midnight Beta. What type of direction is it going? Is it fun? Is it strong? Is it just a one-shot cheesy spec, or is it just really well-rounded and going to be a good fit for you? These are the types of important concepts that you want to consider before making your selection, because otherwise you can get locked into something that's just not built for you. So let's get started, because there's a lot of specializations. I am going to be ranking the tanks because I'm getting more experience on them, and I have big concerns for them as well. So Affliction Warlock, this specialization in PvE, it's really fun, simple, straightforward, Seed of Corruption, go boom, big AoE. In PvP, it's just got way too many things going on. It's heavily global cooldown intensive, and with the new Unstable Affliction mechanics, you can't really play the Jinx PvP talent to get dots out as effectively as you did before, and then trying to manage stacking UAs, which might get dispelled, as well as trying to get off Dark Harvest AoE enemies. I just feel like it's got too much going on in PvP at the moment. It makes it really complicated, very difficult to play and to excel on. But if you've been playing Affliction War for the past couple expansions, I'm probably just sounding like a broken record. You already know the drill with Affliction, and it just seems like that's honestly where it's going to end up. I feel like you can pull it off, but it's going to be very difficult. It's probably one of the hardest classes to play if you're getting trained down by melee. And I think with how strong Demon Hunter is, Death Knight is, and Windwalker is, these guys usually hard counter you. So when we take that into consideration, I think the best I can do for you is be, if you're the most insane player on this spec, you might be able to have some decent success with it, but I think the other Warlock specs are definitely outshining you, and it's just too complicated, convoluted, and difficult to actually pull off, in my opinion, at the moment. Arcane Mage, they've simplified it a lot from where it was. It's still very challenging to play, though, mostly because you have one school of magic. Very similar issue that Affliction honestly has. So getting trained and interrupted, and you do have to cast quite a lot. But the Arcane Orb build that popped up is doing a huge amount of damage. For me, it's still an S tier specialization, just able to mow people down, decently durable. You're also very happy with some of the changes that happened to Hunter. That's definitely going to be propping up a lot of mage specializations. But Arcane is just really able to just smash out pressure at the moment, but it is still a little bit more complicated, so take that into consideration before locking yourself into this. There are easier mage specializations that probably come pretty close to the power level that Arcane is. Arms Warrior, sorry guys, I don't know, you got nerfed. You're already on D. Like, maybe I should have put a tier even lower than this, but like, you got nerfed. There were no PvP modifiers to counteract those nerfs. There's a couple of weird cheesy modifier slam builds I've seen starting to pop up. You pretty much have to play Colossus in order to get enough survivability, at least in rated arena settings. When you're out in world PvP where there's no dampening, your second wind can be really effective, so it can surprisingly be good in some 1v1 situations for world PvP if that's a consideration for yourself. But when it comes to rated content, I feel like it's going to really struggle. You just get kited endlessly. The snares are still very oppressive. They've done a good job bringing down crowd control across the board outside of snares, but I really feel like snares are going to be an issue. You do pretty much have to reroll Gnome also with the changes to their root breaks. Otherwise, you'd be like me, just angrily smashing your desk while you're not able to move at all. So if you're not a big fan of Gnomes, probably not going to want to be able to picking up the Arms Warrior right now, because that's going to be pretty much locking you in. Assassination Rogue, they've gone with a very specific playstyle of pooling energy to spam Envenoms, which makes it very cheesy and honestly very predictable if you understand how its cooldowns work, which in my opinion, I think makes it very weak. I've seen PvEers critiquing it a lot as well. They're not enjoying the Envenom pooling. I personally don't. I really much prefer just getting bleeds up on everything, spamming mutilates, and not feeling totally energy starved where I'm just like auto attacking, waiting, and then pooling and then go. I just really don't like that playstyle. So for me, I think Assassination, it's getting better in terms of viability, but Subtlety is just God mode in comparison. Like, I really think the best I could do for Assassination is maybe B tier. Like, you can win, you've got a lot of cheesy bursts, but it's on such an infrequent cooldown compared to Subtlety. Mobility is a little bit of an issue as well, as far as snares, similar to Arms Warrior, but you do have, I feel, more lethality than Arms Warrior at the moment, but it's still pretty predictable. Also, Paladins are really good. Paladins kind of counter both Warriors and Rogues to some extent, so the meta is impacting you, but I think like another tune-up of damage. Maybe they just completely drop it. I don't know, because we're getting close to the end of the rope here as far as release date, but they've also, in previous expansions, more recent ones at least, they've been willing to even just touch up classes or go back to the drawing board with them even through the release. So maybe this is salvageable, but to me it just seems very cheesy. Augmentation Evoker is actually viable. It's got a very big burst window at the moment. It's the same gameplay that you always expect. Buff up your allies with Heaven Might, fly through Deep Breath and Eruption spam and big damage, right? Like, it's just good. It's good. That's the feedback I've seen from people playing it, is that it actually is pretty good. Blood Decay, I don't know if I want to put this one too high. I definitely think there's other tank specs that are doing better than it. I actually saw it the other day. The only reason I hate rating the tanks is because then people make them. But I think Blood Decay maybe here is probably a bit more fair. It's incredibly durable, really strong 1v1. It's gonna be really good in Battleground Blitz. I think the AoE grip silence is a really strong mechanic to have in those situations. Is Death Grip Chains of Ice really good? So I definitely think it's a good option. I think there's other tanks that just do a little bit more damage. Guardian Druid being one of those. So I'm dropping Guardian Druid up onto A tier. Again, really durable, decent support for the team, but not nearly as much as some other tanks that we'll get to in a moment when we get to them. But can do actually a really big amount of damage with the what was it, Wildstalker build? No, not Wildstalker build, the other one. I'm forgetting the name of the other Druid build where you replace your Maul with Raise and it just does an insane amount of damage. And also the Apex talent replacing when you pop Incarn, and it gives you this big buff where your next Mauls hit really hard. That burst window is actually very high, very strong 1v1. I think Guardian's probably maybe the best 1v1 spec in the game if you really wanted to cheese people. This spec right here, BM Hunter, is one that we really need to talk about, right? Because its power level has gone down. I had it on S tier before. I think I'm going to put it onto A tier now. It's still good, but the stampede damage was significantly reduced. Before it was like 30%. I think now it's like 10% of your overall damage in a match. So damage has come down a lot. Still, though, instant cast, bounce around, very easy and forgiving specialization, and definitely still viable with the changes, but I'd say it's a cut tier lower than S tier now. Brewmaster, I don't see this one a lot. I can't imagine that it's any much better or worse than Blood Decay, though, at the moment. It's got, in some patches, honestly, it's had very high damage. It's possible that it does, but this is one that I've the least familiarity with, at least. Just no one playing it. Maybe someone on my stream will give 5 subs for me to try it. I don't know. And hopefully it'll be fun. Unlike some of the other specializations that we'll review in a moment, hopefully it'll be fun, but some of the other ones definitely struggle. I can't see it being any better or worse, though, than Blood. Feral Druid, again, it's got the workings to be a really good spec. It just needs tuning. Feels like damage is just on the lower side. That's the big deal for me. I do think it's a bit better than Affliction. Maybe it's about the same. I'll leave it on B tier or B plus tier for now a little bit. I think it's better than Assassination, maybe just because of Cyclone. But the damage output is just a little bit low. Just needs a small number tuning adjustment on bleed damage. And I think Feral Druid will be a remarkable spec. And they've made it a bit easier to play as well. So very close to being really good. Boomkin, I also think is really good. I'm going to put it onto A tier for this week just because I want S tier to try to be a little bit more reserved for like completely over the top specializations. Survivability can be a little shaky. Surprisingly, Cyclone cast speed, it seems to be okay. I was really expecting Cyclone cast speed to go down because the first season haste is low, but it seems like Cyclone is still really good. Apex talent is actually pretty nice. The on-use Eclipse is also pretty nice. It's just way more on-demand damage. It's basically just super juiced version of itself from the previous expansion. But I do think survivability can be a little bit more of an issue. They nerfed the regrowth recently, and you will feel the healing on that. Devourer Demon Hunter, really good pick. It's hard countered by Subtlety Rogue right now, but similarly to Havoc, and that's story as old as time right now with Demon Hunter, is that you're just countered by Subtlety Rogue, and Subtlety Rogue is still very strong. If Subtlety Rogue for some reason falls off or gets nerfed again, Devourer Demon Hunter will likely rise. It's very tanky outside of those situations and does really good damage. I feel like the tuning on this, like maybe one more round of tuning adjustments on bringing up consume damage and reap damage, And it's going to be a really good spec. So I'm going to leave it on A tier for now. Again, just trying to reserve that S tier. But it is really good at the moment. And almost every Devourer is switching to Annihilator now. I'm hoping that like they'll find a nice middle ground, but honestly I like the playstyle of Annihilator better than Void Scarred or Fell Scarred, whatever they renamed it to. I actually find it the playstyle better. I like the Collapsing Star playstyle better. It's more visual, feels good, it's more interactive. The Fell Scarred one is just kind of like, it's pretty decent as far as visuals though, with the Hunt and Blastian with Predator Wake and stuff like that. But it's very close. I feel like it's very close to actually being a really good spec. Demonology Warlock, I'm going to put this onto S tier. You just have the most amount of crowd control. I can't believe you guys are actually going to get away with having a stun, a fear, a coil, a howl with a 15 seconds, so AoE fear with 15 second cooldown, and a kick. And it's a normal kick. It's not even just a normal kick. Someone's an extra pet that does damage, and it's a kick. So yeah, I don't think you guys need the extra pet kick, and I don't know why they gave it to you, because in Mythic Plus they changed diminishing returns so that stuns can infinitely not DR. So like they're like a millisecond duration stun, but you can keep stunning to stop casts. So like you've got the Felguard to stun. Like why do they need a kick on top of the stun if they can just stun the guy? Unless it's a boss, I guess. But then just make it an interrupt as well, which I think it is. So it seems overkill that they have an interrupt is my biggest issue with it. Other than that, the tuning on it's really good. It feels like a strong, well-tuned class in PvP. Like you've got good ramp. I really like the damage profile. I like how they simplified it. That one element I really do like. It's just the crowd control is very oppressive. But I don't know if that's going to change. If it doesn't, then you're going to be S tier and you're going to be pretty happy about it. Destruction Warlock is doing a lot of damage. It's a bit squishier than Demonology, a little bit less control, a little bit less unstable. So that's why I think I'm going to put it down on A tier, but it's still a really good spec. You will feel a bit shakier, I think, into melee. I think in general as Warlock, especially if you're a new player, you'll feel a bit shaky into melee. But Destro is probably the easiest Warlock spec to play, though. So if you're looking for a level of difficulty, I would say pick Destruction over Demonology. But if you want like overall competitive viability, I think Demonology is going to be a go-to. I think at least if it came out today, I think it would be in the meta, especially if you're trying to go for Gladiator with the new cutoff. I think that it'll be a decent counter into Rogue teams, which I think will be the predominant builds. But Demonology and Unholy might be somewhat of a counter in those fields. But for now, the defense element is the reason I'm leaving it a bit lower than Demonology. Devastation Evoker, I think it's okay. Decently well-rounded. The new Azure Strike upgrading to Azure Sweep after you use Eternity Surge actually gives you a lot of damage, so Eternity Surge feels better, and then Azure Sweep actually being a cool ability when it gets empowered is very nice. That's a nice improvement. The double Deep Breath, where you can basically double immune, like stuns and prevent setup, and also just like double stun people before, it gives you more lockdown. So it's looking good. Numbers are decent. I wouldn't say they're maybe over the top. It's somewhere between B+ and A. I don't know, is it really as bad as Feral Druid though? I feel like it's a bit better than Feral Druid, which makes me think I should drop Feral Druid down onto B tier. But I don't know if I want to say it's as bad as Assassination, as good as Assassination. So now I'm wiggling stuff around here, but I think it's a little bit better in that regard. So it's still a very straightforward spec. It's still a very good dad gamer spec to just log in and fly around. Being immune to interrupts and snares is always going to be a fun in that type of camp. Discipline Priest, the Void Weaver's pretty much dead. You pretty much have to play Oracle, and it's much more healing based as opposed to it. Although Atonement is still maybe your number one heal, it feels like you spend a lot more time penancing defensively, which is more straightforward to understand as a healer. Like, oh, this is my big heal, I press it on them and it heals, as opposed to the full damage where everything you're doing is damage, otherwise you're ineffective. So I think it's a little easier to understand for a beginner. And then obviously they reworked the Oracle ability. As far as viability after this week, I think it's still good. I think there's other healers that are a bit better. I'm put it on A tier, but this one will probably wiggle around when we get to the other healers and I really start to cross-examine them. But it's okay as long as you play Oracle. Elemental Shaman, I'm sorry guys, like you guys got nerfed. I think you're very, like, at best you're mid. At best you're mid. Just needs tuning. Just needs a little bit more damage in PvP. Again, I think that they're probably still tuning around dungeons and raids, and then when they're done, then it's like, okay, we know where all the abilities are. Now we can apply PvP modifiers without worrying about PvE tuning and then readjusting those and then going back and forth constantly. I'm hoping that that's their game plan, because that has been the game plan in the past, and it's led to the first season of an expansion usually being very good for PvP. But again, this one just needs to tune up. I like how they reduce the ability bloat. I think honestly, maybe we need to talk about dispels. Healers like Paladin, and not even just Paladin, but Paladin's the most predominant one. Just Flame Shock Dispel feels really bad against them. I really think they need a very powerful dispel mechanic. So if you dispel Flame Shock, like maybe you get like instant lightning bolts or something, because it just feels so bad when people are spam dispelling as Ellie. It literally makes me want to put it on C tier just because of that, because you've lost a lot of ways of being able to reapply Flame Shock basically with the keybind reduction. Enhancement Shaman, you're kind of just a cheesy one-shot spec. Story as old as time. You guys have probably heard that before. They just need to bring damage out of Doomwinds and Ascendants and just put it into Storm Strike and Lava Lash. It's just to bring down the cooldowns, bring up the sustain in PvP, and I think it'll be really fun because I think they've done a good job with the ability reduction for it. Although you've lost a little bit of style and finesse with some of the abilities that you lost. I think for me right now, although it's probably still B plus just because of the one-shot pressure that it has, I don't even think it is actually. I'm going to put it on B tier. Most enhancement shamans I run across struggle to pull a lot off, and you have the same issues as warrior as far as getting uptime. So I think B tier is probably fair for it. Frost DK, Mez gave me a build for it to try yesterday, and I was playing Riders of the Apocalypse. It felt very weak. Felt like you were just tickling. Then I watched him later in the night playing Reaper's Mark build, and I think it's Reaper's Mark, and he was doing insane damage. Really big burst in those windows, but the damage outside the cooldowns is a little low. Much like Enhance, I feel like the cooldowns are scary, but then the damage outside not so much. So I feel like that this could use a round of tuning to bring down cooldown damage and bring up damage outside of cooldown, similar to what they're doing with Devourer, right? Because I do think that's what will make PvP feel good and be easier to understand as a new player, because you come in and you press your buttons and actually feel like they're doing something, instead of needing to know this complex codex of this ability before this ability before this ability, and then that instantly kills the target. I just feel like we've been playing that gameplay for so long. I really just want to go back to, oh my god, my button moved the HP bar. Yay. I just want a little bit more simplification. I think the best though still that I could really do for this is probably B tier. I think other specs are going to feel a bit stronger. It's not terrible. Again, just needs these guys really just need a little tuning. Affliction needs, I don't know. I feel like it needs a bit of an overhaul. Just too many. It's trying to do too many things. Fire Mage, really good still. Really, really good. I think defense maybe a little bit. I swear that I say that with Mage, like defense is shaky, but then they always end up being unkillable, and that's the main reason we see them at the highest level. But in Shuffle, it might struggle a little bit more. In Blitz, I think on any Mage spec, you're going to notice the loss of utility, especially Blast Wave. Am I really going to put Fire up with Arcane? Because I think it's probably deserving. Combustion is just a very scary window still. I want to put it up there. I'm going to put it on to A tier for now. I might even need to make it like an A plus tier. And then an A tier. I don't even think this tier list is going to fit on the page for my OBS by the time I start subdividing this too much. But I think it's probably between S or A. Honestly, like in tournament play, you'd probably play Fire just because you can't be interrupted like Arcane. But on ladder, they'll probably feel a lot more comparable. Frost, really good. But much like Frost Decay, it's like all your damage is in Ray of Frost. And I don't know how we end up in that situation every time with an expansion, because then it's like, oh, we don't want the one ability one-shotting people, so then they fix that, and then we're just immediately back to that ability one-shots people. I think it's still really good though, but mostly just because it's carried by the Ray of Frost. So I'll put it up on A tier as well with Fire. Again, could be I think all Mage specs as far as like overall output are competitive with each other, but they're kind of cheesy cooldown specs. But at the same time, maybe that's good for Mage to be more control and cooldown oriented. It's just how much so, right? Should they be engaged with cooldown damage versus non-cooldown damage? Fury Warrior I do think is better than Arms. I think I can fairly put it at least on B tier. Damage output at the moment, at least with Mountain Thane, looks good. But I guess it did get a little bit of a nerf. I didn't really see a lot of it. Maybe it's fallen a little bit, but I'll leave it on B tier for now. The issues with it is just kiting, but it seems like its survivability is a bit better, and damage output definitely is better. But mobility is the main issue between both of the specs. Havoc Demon Hunter, Rain from Above, still carrying the spec. We saw nerfs to Eldrazi Reaver, I believe. So it might feel a little weaker. I think like maybe we could do like B plus for this one. When we get to more melee, I think it'll make more sense as far as A tier. It's very strong still into dot classes. Just take no damage to dots. pretty much. But very weak in Subtlety Rogue, and Subtlety Rogue is very popular. I think it's also can struggle with the mages at the moment with how much burst they have currently available. And obviously Devourer is going to be just like taking the show, right? It seems like Devourer is probably going to be getting more attention and love just because it's new, possibly. And just because it's new, people will want to reroll. But I think B plus is probably a fair spot for it. I'd like some damage taken out of Rain from Above, the PP talent, and put into just its base abilities. Just very similar to Enhance. It's a little bit of a bump. Holy Priest. I've seen some people talking about Archon Holy Priest being good. The Chastise is the main difference between Disc and Holy at the moment, and you do a little less damage though. So you get stunned, but a little less damage. I think Disc is better, but it's very close, so I'm going to put it on B+. And if I see more of this Archon Holy build popping up, then they might be getting more one-on-one with each other. Holy Paladin, still very good. But I kind of want to. I think Holy Paladin is way better than Disc though. This is where we're going to start to run into problems. This is where I'm gonna squeeze things around a little bit here. I think I don't know, but I feel no, we can't move that around like that. Holy is S, but I think Mistweaver is much better, but Holy's definitely S. Just very good damage, very fun. It's going to be the healer that I level, I think, unless something dramatically changes, just because it is the most fun and it seems very competitively viable. I think it's going to be really interchangeable with a bunch of other classes. So for me, it's a really good go-to. Marksmanship Hunter, still really good. Probably now on par with Beast Mastery Hunter, or getting much closer to on par with Beast Mastery Hunter. Disadvantage though is that you are more stationary, but burst damage is still really good. The stationary nature is obviously going to be a bit of an issue, but it still does a really good burst. Mistweaver Monk, again, I think it's better than Holy Paladin. The Renewing Mist modifiers, is my understanding after talking to Vinruki, is that there's PP modifiers buffing Renewing Mist by like a huge amount, and then obviously there's a bunch of new talents and stuff that's come in that buffs Renewing Mist, so you're just like passively keeping your team alive with huge amounts of Renewing Mist healing, and it can make it feel like literally nothing's happening in a lot of games, whereas when you get other healer matchups, games feel much faster tempo. So just bringing down some of those modifiers, I think, on Renewing Mist would likely be the first step for it, to see where it lands without doing too much and completely destroying the spec. And then kind of moving on from there. Outlaw Rogue, again, Subtlety Rogue's just taking the show. It's just way easier to play, way more effective for how easy it is as well. Outlaw just doesn't feel like it has that level of effectiveness. I don't think it's completely awful. I'll put it onto B tier right now, but so it's just, every time, as soon as you play it, it's just night and day. You'll just be like, I need to play Sub Rogue, even with the nerfs that it did to Sub Rogue against Outlaw. And it's still decently complex, even with the like, I like how they streamlined the Roll of Bones, but it's still, I want to say, pretty hard to play compared to a lot of other classes. Preservation Evoker, I think, is not that great. I feel like, honestly, the first iteration of Preservation Evoker in Dragonflight was the best. I really liked it back then. It was super fun, smooth, offensive play style, getting in their face. Now it's like you're in their face, but there's no real offensive benefit. Like, you can basically just spam sleep is the main thing that's carrying it. You'd think it'd be good being able to put like obsidian scales on an ally now, multiple charges of time dilation. It just feels like the output is just so low as far as damage that you're just exposed a lot of the time in melee range. So I think like the best I could do is like B for preservation at the moment. Bringing up their damage would be nice, considering like Holy Pally just tosses out one judgment and just does like as much damage as you did the entire game in some cases. So yeah, Preservation Evoker a little bit lower here. Prot Warrior, I don't see a lot of, but it's getting nerfed a lot in Mythic Plus. So I feel like it's gonna start falling off. I'm gonna leave it on B plus for right now. I think Guardian Druid's probably a bit better, but again, when we're talking like World PvP or BGs, I think they're gonna be pretty close. Unless we're talking about Prot Pally. Prot Pally is just God mode. Giga God mode. Has way too many defensive cooldowns. Just the 2 charges of Ancient Queens to be able to immune allies. The proc Queen on yourself that saves you. The Bubble and the Magic Bomb and the Lay on Hands. And then also just the infinite consistent healing with these talents that make Word of Glory basically free. So you have very good sustain overall. Really good burst. Their Apex talent does a lot of damage for some reason in PvP. And then Hammer of Light builds also are doing a lot of damage. And it got buffed without any PvP mods. So like, yeah, Prot is definitely the leading tank at the moment. Restoration Druid really felt the nerfs this week. I think it has fallen quite a bit. I think the regrowth target particularly has affected it. So I'm dropping it down onto B plus before I think I would have considered it A. And if you're like a pro at it, you could maybe feel like an S. But I think it's losing its footing a bit with the changes. And unfortunately, those were, I think, mostly targeted at Mythic Plus because it was a very good top performer in Mythic Plus, but it's led to some consequences in PvP. Maybe that'll be remedied. Really just depends on how much further tuning they're going to do for PvE before I think they'll jump in for any like distinct tuning changes. Maybe they change PvP talents or something because obviously PvE isn't affected by that, but we'll have to wait and see. Red Paladin, really strong, solid option. Just well-rounded, good damage, good utility, good length of play. Just good. You're honestly probably where you want to be before the game goes live. You're just good. Restoration Shaman is a struggle. The rework still from 2 weeks ago with Ascendance makes Ascendance very weak. Healing Tide was just very weak. It's funny. It's one of those specs where they actually feel like they did significantly lower their cooldown value, whereas like some of those specs is like your cooldown is everything. It's your entire class. Whereas Shaman, it's like your cooldown is nothing. Your cooldown doesn't do anything. It's all about your casted healing, which feels fair. But in a world against Mystery versus Holy Paladin, fair will feel like you're weak. So for me, I think Restoration Shaman is probably down here with Preservation Evoker, maybe a bit better than Prez, but pretty close. Has the advantage though against Wizards still. Although they've added new UI elements, Grounding Totem's a lot more visible, which obviously makes Shaman a bit weaker, but I think is an overall improved gameplay experience. But yeah, Restoration Shaman struggling a little bit. I don't know. It's one of those cases where they should bring the top down or bring them up because it's like, okay, your Giga Strong cooldowns permanently 100%. Should we make Rest of Shaman also have Giga Strong cooldowns? Everyone's permanently 100%. That doesn't sound super fun. But at the same time, if Shaman is struggling, just casting out heals, trying to get through interrupts and can barely keep somebody alive versus Giga Instant Heal Tony up here with infinite cooldowns, it's just not going to feel fair. Shadow Priest, definitely an A tier pick. I think if you're playing Archon, although some people have been trying Void Weaver, I might have to give Void Weaver a go again because of the changes they did. But the Halo build still feels good. It's hard to do with melee, getting interrupted and ran down, especially by like Demon Hunters and Death Knights, those two classes. And I'm also very annoyed about Tentacle Slam just bugging out. It only applies Shadow Word Madness and not Vampiric Touch and Shadow Word Pain. I don't know what's causing that. It completely screws you over in the game, the flow of the game, if Tentacle Slam just doesn't apply your Vampiric Touch or Shadow Word Pain, but it'll apply the Shadow Word Madness. So it's like, what? Why is it only playing sometimes? And I know there's like an issue with people running out of line of sight, but sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes they're literally just in the middle of the map. It just doesn't apply two of the dots. It only applies the Shadow Word Madness. I really think that needs to be looked at because otherwise that will be very frustrating. And then Subtlety Rogue, obviously, giga good. Really good, just even after the nerf, still really good. Has a lot of control of the outcome of a game. The low cooldown and Shadow Dance just means you go, right? And they changed diminishing returns now where you can only stun someone twice in a row before they're immune, but you can stun them 2 seconds faster or more frequently than you could before, which is really good with how they reworked Subtlety and how it gets its stuns with talents like when you vanish or dance, you get a reset of a charge of cheap shot, so you just always have a cheap shot. Whereas like Assassination, you're just kind of not able to get that same type of lockdown. And the burst is like maybe it's as high as Subtlety in that window, but you can only do it like every 2 minutes or whatever it is for Deathmark or Kingsbane. So Subtlety is definitely a top performer. Survival Hunter, I think, is also a really top performer at the moment. Boomstick is still just doing really good damage. Just really strong overall tuning for it. I do wonder if it'll get nerfed. Probably will, especially if it's still triple killing teams a few weeks from release at this point. Unholy DK is a tough one. Like, do I want to leave S tier for just 2 specs? Because like, I think Unholy DK is maybe deserving of S tier still, but it's starting to come down a bit for me. So like, I'm gonna put it up here, but with reservations that I feel like Unholy is starting to fall into A tier. Vengeance Demon Hunter, I think it's maybe the weakest tank as far as throughput from what I've seen. I'll put it on B tier. It lost a bit of control also with this expansion, but I don't see it a huge amount. So, but this is my vibes for it really, even with just limited experience viewing it or playing it. And then Windwalker, really good damage profile at the moment, but I think the kiting is the main issue for you. So like I'm going to put you on A tier instead. I think just getting kited is going to be a pretty significant issue relative to these guys. They don't really have to worry too much about it, if almost at all, with either the mobility or the lockdown that they have or the range damage that they have. That Windwalker doesn't. I think that's the main reason I'm putting it down on A tier, but it's improved a lot from where it came. So those are my thoughts right now for this week in review. And obviously, if more changes come through, I'll update those to you guys in real time here with videos here as soon as possible. So make sure to smash the subscribe button so you're never missing a beat. Thank you guys very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.